Peace and love, y'all. It's your brother A.D.V.I.S S, and we are here with another episode of What's the Word Wednesday, Season 2, Episode 20. So, it's a grand total we've done of 40 episodes. Appreciate y'all. But we're here again with Episode 20. And like we usually do, we throwing in the comments, the topics for today. Also, going to be having the background for our show and have that up. But as y'all are coming in, let me know how y'all doing, how y'all feeling, and what's the word, as well as we are back in here again with another one. And shouts out to those who are watching right now, as well as those who are going to be watching later, whether on Instagram or YouTube. If you're on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe to your boy for more videos to come. And don't forget to also hit on that subscription bell so you can be notified when I drop videos. But other than that plug, for today's episode, we are going to be getting into three topics. And the three topics that we're going to be getting into, first, we're going to be talking about current events, so the news, as we usually do, what comes around, what I've seen. Second, we're going to get into a topic about words and them being spells. So words are real spells, and I'll delve into that deeper. And lastly, we're going to be talking about, in connection to that, why there are or aren't any universal definitions. That will be the show for today. But as we wait and continue on, appreciate y'all coming in. Let me know how you feeling, how you doing, and what is the word. It'll be a random word to throw it in there. Appreciate y'all's time. So before we get started with the show song and get on with the show, we're gonna wait for people to get in here and just to be ready. Share precious moments or two, captured in real time in a quick time view, while passing us by on the far side towards the heavens above blue. That's beyond skies, but listen to it, take it and own it. Catch that vibe and let your soul glow like Leroy versus Shoutout. On the journey as I travel and find, making moves trying to catch this vibe. In pursuit and taking all my time and feel good while I catch this vibe. Steadily there, always on my mind. Inside, the sensations sublime. So I'm catching vibes, and we catching vibes. 30 more seconds, y'all, we get started. So if you come and say this line, say we catching vibes, we catching vibes. So if you with us, put a V in the sky and say we catching vibes, we catching vibes. So if you with us, waving side to side and say we catching vibes, we catching vibes. Say we catching vibes, we catching vibes. What's going on, fam? Superb, aka Big Sue in the building. What's the word, family? What is the word? Let me know. Alright, y'all. That lovely guitar playing by the brother Saab. You shouts out to Saab you again, man. You know, the booth. Welcome to the booth, out now. All streaming platforms. Just a selfish plug. But with that, y'all, let's get into the show song. And then let's get on with this news. So, if you learn it, you learn it. If not, it's all good. But we walk around, people trying to ask, you know, what's going on? So we tell them like this. What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? What's the word, y'all? What's the word? We tell them like, what's the word? What's the word? What you heard? We gotta know, yeah, what's the word? Once again, y'all, it's your brother A.D.V.I.S S, and we are here with another episode of What's the Word Wednesday, Season 2, Episode 20. Y'all, another 20 episodes. That equals 40 in total. I appreciate y'all riding with me, man. 40 episodes in, and it's crazy how many we've done. But with that, shouts out to those that are in here. Shouts out to the fam Sue Appreciate you, sister, being up in here, as well as those who will be watching this later, either on Instagram or YouTube. If so, on YouTube, don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe to your boy, as well as hit the notification bell to get more videos when I drop them. But other than that, y'all, have one interesting one for today. One that is very least close to me because I'm a lover of words. So we got 3 topics for today. And the 3 topics that we're going to be getting into, of course, first is going to be current events. So looking at the news, see what's going on around us. So if y'all have any news of any sorts, please drop them in the comments, leave them so we can continue and we can talk on those. Second, we're going to be talking about words are real spells, which basically are they or are they not? What words really bring about and what are their real meanings behind them? And lastly, we're going to talk about in connection why there are or there aren't any universal definitions. But yeah, y'all, before we get started, I got a night off to catch the show again. Appreciate it, fam, whenever you can, because shoot, you supporting in a whole nother way with the time as well. So with that, y'all, let's get into the first topic. The first topic, we're going to be getting into these current events. So I see the sister Sue is saying that she's seen a lot of evil involving children in the news lately. Like, let me know, because I only pulled up a few other things over here, and the topics that I got for the news, again, some more health updates, and then we have also different disasters, or at least issues that are happening around the U.S. as well as globally, then some things on business, as well as just things to think about and consider. So those are the things for the news. But first, let's get into this first news report. And this is just an update. This title comes from Redditors, if I am correct. And the article title reads, U.S. administrators have administrated 331.7 million doses of the vaccine, and this is coming per CDC. So the article reads, Realtors, the U.S. has administered basically those million doses of the vaccine in the country as of Wednesday morning, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention said. So far, that's how much they've been able to vaccinate when it comes to the U.S. Now, when thinking of that, the rest of the article ends up saying, too, that the agency says that basically 182, we'll just leave it at that, 0.8 million people have already received at least one, while only 157 will go 0.9 million have been fully vaccinated. So those are just still, at least those are just rough numbers. But other than that, CDC has total all of this, including, of course, the shots from Moderna, Pfizer, as well as Johnson & Johnson. So this is the total so far that has been updated when it comes to the U.S. and the epidemic or pandemic and the administration or minister of the shots. But that's that update, y'all. Let me see. It said baby girl found dead in the Chattahoochee River, and a child was found in some water in Florida. He was on vacation and his family. And was wow. Wow. That's very tragic. Dang, that's a lot to hear. I mean, see, that's why I'm not saying it's not on anybody's case when it comes to like being that, but always making sure y'all safe and be on your P's and Q's and making sure that you're aware of your environment, what's going on. Like, you got to definitely make sure that you're you're tuning in to know where you're going, what's the updates, and, you know, keeping yourself prepared and safe. Shouts out to the brother Marlon. Peace and love. How you doing? Good to see you up in here. What's the word? But thank you for updating, and I'll let you know that that's over on our side, though. Yeah, in Florida. I know I got some other stuff in here that they have as well, too, but let us continue. So, for those who do not know or haven't heard about the Delta variant of the quote-unquote coronavirus, here's some more updates on it, or if it's your first introduction to it, you'll get some more info on it right now. So, this comes from, honestly, this is a news report out of near Charlotte, so I want to see what this is more so about. So, title reads, symptoms of the Delta variant are different from the classic COVID-19 symptoms. Here's what you need to know, okay? And the reason why this is a big thing is because this Delta variant is supposedly much more contagious, as well as it's spreading very quickly. So, article reads, the highly contagious Delta COVID-19 variant is one of the fast-spreading variants, but could also prove to be one of the most elusive to diagnose, doctors say, because the Delta symptoms do not follow the most common COVID-19 symptoms. One love, cornbread. Good to see you in here. What's the word? So, Dr. David Priest, an infectious disease specialist with Novid Health, and said, while the loss of taste and smell is one of the most common signs of the coronavirus, they say that maybe getting the Delta virus with that will have more other vague particular symptoms, such as a runny nose or a sore throat. So right now it's spreading heavily. I think it's up to 25%. It might be up to even more, but at least last one I checked, it was up to about at least 25% widespread in the U.S. So it's definitely at least something to look out to. Like I always say, y'all just make sure that you're doing all the health procedures that you need to, washing your hands, all these, you know, things, sanitizing, whatever you need to do to stay healthy, eating right, making sure you get regular exercise, go outside, get some sun and some fresh air. Don't stay in your room, in your house for so long. So keep that in mind with this. But just know, if you don't know about the Delta virus, it's another strain that came out of India, and it has now been just hitting the U.S. very hard, especially those who have yet to have been gotten the shots versus those who have gotten the shots. So just keeping all of that in mind. But that's the update for health. At least in this case, we got one more. And see, sorry for down on mic. Okay. Appreciate that. Thank you, man. Hey, man. We freestyling. We put out bars. People feel it, they feel it. So appreciate that. Thank you. What's up, man? How you doing? Bruh, living and learning, and we here, man, on the episode. Appreciate y'all tuning in. This is What's the Word Wednesdays. If you don't know, we come in and have combos, and we have different talks on topics. And stick around. Y'all more than welcome to come on too, as well. Just, you know, invite yourself or look for that to request, and you get on here. I will just say disclaimer: if you are not ready to be on here, because I do put these up on YouTube, just know that you do waive away your rights. If you come on to be on here, then I will have it. But if you're not comfortable, it's all good. You can be in the comments. But either way, much love to being here and supporting in with your time and your comments. But let's continue, y'all. Last thing for update with health, we have this coming from CNBC, and the headline reads, World Health Organization urges extreme caution against completely lifting public health measures. So when we have all these different measures and rules when it comes to how to operate within this pandemic and time of the virus and this going on, few bodies that we look to is the CDC as well as the World Health Organization, or WHO for short. So let's see what they got to say. So here's some key points. Like I said, usually when I do 2 paragraphs and we out, but here's some key points. Key points, it says that WHO officials urged extreme caution against lifting public health measures in countries around the world. So making sure everybody know what they're doing. They seen the European region saw a 33% increase in COVID cases last week. And then the last point, the idea that everyone is protected and is kumbaya and everything is back to normal, I think right now it's a very dangerous assumption anywhere in the world, Ryan says. So we'll see who Ryan is and all this other stuff. But so again, 2 paragraphs and we out. So it says, countries with high vaccination rates like the United States and United Kingdom have been gradually lifting public health measures, while other countries are still battling with the worst outbreaks since the pandemic. Let's see what else they got in here. I want to at least put another one. We'll do this here, and this will be the last point, y'all. So there has been roughly 185 million confirmed cases of COVID across the globe and 4 million deaths so far, which WHO officials have said it is likely an undercount. So much love, brother Runaway in here, my man. Good to see you in here, G. What's the word? So basically the update on this is that even though there's a lot of restrictions being dropped and, you know, we're out and able to somewhat have some type of normalcy coming back, this would be the most critical times to even take more precautious measures. And this is according to the WHO, as well as the CDC also still has measures around that. So it's saying that, yes, you can come back and do what you need to do, but still take those measures to pay attention and lock in to know literally still what's going on, because there's other regions and places still. I know like India is getting hit really hard. It's been getting hit really hard. Like I said, just the UK and them started seeing a lot more. There is Afghanistan. There's a few other places that's been really getting hit really hard with this. So just still be very mindful of what's going on with the virus. That's it. So that's the last health update. If y'all have anything, please throw it in the comments. I'm going to continue with some more news, and y'all please put whatever you feeling and what's your first thoughts to this stuff too. I'm just reporting what I end up have gotten to see. But let's see. Cornbread says, this isn't going to go away just because some people got their shots. Everybody getting way too comfortable. I feel that. Yes. I feel that. Everyone has a certain part that they have to play in this, and literally going by at least first making sure that you protect yourself and family members and everybody else. However those procedures are, please do that. Just don't be coming out here and just start just going around everywhere up in everybody's face and stuff. There is a such thing as a person's personal space. Like that still should be a thing. Like I'm starting to see a lot of people just like shoulder to shoulders, just like right in people's faces, like almost coughing distance. Like calm down with that. Like I get it. People have been in their houses, wherever they are, for so long, cooped up. Like a lot of that energy needs to be put out. So I get it. But always make sure you still take your precautions, whether or not. And I know some people have their ideology behind that this is not a real thing, all this other stuff. But we'll leave it at people to decide what they need to end up doing. But just know what you need to do for yourself and your family and those around you. But thank you for that comment. Appreciate that. Now, in business news, this article comes from NPR, and This basically is about a ship that I heard about that was stuck in a particular canal for a while that was blocking shipments and things to happen, and they finally got it out. So, with that, article reads, the Ever Given, which is the name of the ship, has set sail from the Suez Canal, Suez Canal, months after it blocked the waterway. So it was blocking this waterway within the canal, which, if y'all don't know, where we get a lot of imports from different places and stuff, it's not only just sent via trucks, airplane. We definitely have a lot of that shipped over on different, ships, and not, I won't say boats, but I'll say vessels, whatever you want to say, different names for boats and things. But basically, this is where we get a lot of our resources and things. So when one canal places are cooped up, it's very hard to get from place to place, and there you'll start seeing changes, whether if there's shortages in food, shortages in water. In particular case, I'm starting to see there's been shortages in gas. That has to do with a whole nother place, thing with Afghanistan and Middle East in that case. But with this article, 2 paragraphs, and we out, so you can see what's going on. So, Egyptian authorities announced the release Wednesday of a hulking ship vessel that had blocked the Suez Canal for nearly a week earlier this year. The Evergreen left the canal's Great Bitter Lake, which it has been held for over 3 months. So it's been there for 3 months amid a financial dispute. So again, follow the money, y'all. Always making sure. It's a lot of the things right now circulating, commerce and stuff having to do with money. The development came after its Japanese owner, and I'm gonna butcher this dude's name, but I'm not gonna even do it, a person's name. I was just gonna say Shui. I'm gonna leave it there. Reached a settlement with canal authorities over a compensation amount following weeks of negotiations and a court standoff. So, once again, also got very political and things with that too. The settlement deal was signed in a ceremony Wednesday in the Suez Canal city of Ismailia, which after the vessel was seen sailing to the Mediterranean Sea. An Associated Press video journalist on a board of the tugboat saw the vessel moving northward to the Mediterranean as officials representing the Suez Canal, the vessel's owner, and the insurers penned the deal in Ismailia. So, for right now, there's finally been made a deal, and the Evergreen is peacing out. I'm not too sure what the Evergreen was holding, but it has a lot of shipments and imports. This was a Japanese one that was owned, so from Japan and other areas being shipped. So also keep up with that, just noticing when things are happening and shortage and stuff. Things like this is what's also causing that. Now, next thing with news. I see you, brother. I'm going to get you. Don't worry. I'm going to finish up the news. We jump into the next topic. I got you, G. And I'll definitely put you on if you're still in here. Right. Next topic. I got a few more and we out. This one having to do with the tropical storm that's going on right now. And I guess, for those out there in the, in the South, y'all let me know. But this is from U.S. Today, and the title reads, Tropical Storm Elsa slams Georgia, South Carolina coast. 1 dead so far in Jacksonville, or 9 are missing after a boat capsizes off Key West. So, sending out love and sending out a lot of good vibes to those in Georgia, all around there on that coast area. Please keep yourselves safe. Do what y'all need to do to prevent, if you can, from this stuff. We know about always, natural weathers and disasters and things of that happen. So always being prepared with that. Much love. I see you in here, Alonzo, good to see you. Peace and love. What's the word? Now, once again, we're going to read 2 paragraphs and we out. So, article reads, after losing some of its punch, Tropical Storm Elsa headed towards the coast of Georgia and South Carolina on Wednesday afternoon. Less fearsome than before, but it's still packing enough to do some damage. Elsa's maximum sustained winds have diminished from 65 to 45 miles per hour and is traveling across Florida. The National Hurricane Center said 5 p.m. From its location about 115 miles southwest of Brunswick, Georgia. I might be saying that. Y'all let me know if I'm saying it wrong. The storm was expected to follow a steady path north and have an impact all the way up to the eastern seaboard for the rest of the week. Right now, there's flash floods that are totaling up to about 5 inches with the rain. In New England states, tornadoes may develop from the southeastern U.S. up to Virginia on Wednesday and Thursday. So, once again, y'all, please be careful. And lastly, after a slog up the west coast of Florida, Elsa has made landfall around 11 a.m. and it has lightly populated Taylor County in the Gulf and the Hurricane Center. So it's making its way. So those out there, please be safe. Now, next thing, y'all. Just another update. Again, got stuff going on in Florida and all that's been happening. I haven't covered it before, but I'm going to bring it up, and then again, I'm going to leave it there and continue on. But back way when there was a Surfside condo that had a falling in, there's a number of people that died and also got hurt and injured. It was a whole big thing that was going on. So these are the updates to see what is being added to that. So this comes from CNN, and the title reads, Surfside condo rubble search and rescue will transition to recovery operation. So now, going from it to being a search and rescue, now they're going to be doing a lot of recovery on it. So let's see what they mean by that. So, the transition of that said it was made at midnight. So what they're saying is now our team has developed a very detailed plan to guide the transition and to ensure that the operations proceed at the same speed and intensity. So right now they're changing from the search and rescue to recovery. And the mayor has updated and said that the death toll now stands at 54, with 86 people potentially unaccounted for. Now, want to know what's going on, why they make this decision. It says the decision to transition to a recovery operation was based on the facts that emerged throughout the search and rescue mission in the past 2 weeks. So it's been going on for 2 weeks. To determine the viability of life in rubble, we consider engineering, medical, and other factors. And this is from the Miami County Fire Chief, Allen. I'm not going to even try his last name. But just letting y'all know, for those, again, we always cover stuff that's going on, not just only where y'all at, but just around the U.S. and in the world. But for those out in Florida, this is the procedure that's going on for those out there that has had family, if not in that condo. You know, again, very tragic things to hear, but this is just an update of now what they're going to be doing to find out the full damage in total of what's happened with this condo collapsing. Boom. On to next things in news. And we got 2 more and I'm out. We have politics, and this is around the world. This is happening. This was in Haiti. And this is from NPR. The title reads, even before Jovenel Moïse's assassination, Haiti was in crisis. So I thought this was gonna be so much easier. The Haitian president had been assassinated, and there's been a lot of things that have gone on in Haiti that's been still in crisis. So let's see what the article says. The assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moïse, if I'm saying his name correctly, at his home threatened to exacerbate Haiti's already rampant problems. Everything that could go wrong seems to be going wrong, says Robert Fatton, an expert on Haitian politics at the University of Virginia and a native of Haiti himself. The western portion of the island off of Hispaniola, Haiti is perched in the Caribbean just 600 miles southeast of Florida. It threw off French rule with a successful revolt, becoming the first black-led republic in 1804. You can look into the history on that, when they became independent from that. You see the Haitian Revolution. Look into your things there. Basically, I already did the 2 paragraphs. The last thing to at least wrap up on there with that there is that basically one of the things that the country is still facing is a constitutional crisis. So within their whole board of laws and legislations, especially when it comes to elections and voting. So always a lot going on, not only in the U.S. but around the world. So again, sending out a lot of support to and good vibes out to Haiti in these situations. And the assassin, all of this stuff that's going on. And lastly, y'all, this was something that also piqued my interest when I saw it on the news, or at least here on NPR. This is another thing in business, and the title reads, Iceland finds major success moving to shorter work weeks. I don't know about y'all, but I definitely pressure, or I should say not the pressure from working, but I treasure the moments in my free time that I get to have and not being able to work day in and day out for such long hours. And it is shown in different data that not only shortening work weeks, but also allowing for more vacation time and a certain structure of workplace flow has improved not only the workflow within employees in a company, but also relations and overall satisfaction with their job. So let's see what major successes Iceland has found with this. So, as many people contemplate a future in which they don't need to communicate in offices, the idea of working less altogether also has its appeal. Now, research out of Iceland has found that working fewer hours for the same pay, so this is still the same pay but less hours, led to improved well-being amongst workers with no loss in productivity. In fact, in some places, workers were more productive after cutting hours back. So they were more productive. It says, granted, Iceland is tiny. The entire workforce amounts to almost 200,000 people, but 86% of Iceland's working population has moved to shorter hours or has the right to negotiate such a schedule. According to a report from the Association of Democracy and Sustainability and the think tank Autonomy, this follows 2 successful trials, including 2,500 workers, that the report called a major success. So all they did in this particular run trial, they said of a 40-hour week, they switched to 35 or 36, so basically cutting it 5 hours short. And I mean, once again, like I said, it showed in this report that people had, again, more well-being is improved, as well as the productivity was still the same, if not even gotten much better from cutting back only 5 hours. So I thought it was interesting because I know a lot of people here is working 40 plus, if not multiple different jobs just to make it and get by. But being able to see that implemented in different places and see the success rates and implementing it and see how it would do over here would definitely improve. I see it'll definitely be an improvement on things. It's when you think of you having a break with something, or literally going on your break, what the break is supposed to end up doing, and it's supposed to give you time to rejuvenate and get yourself back up and ready to go for the next shift or whatever you're going back to when it comes to working. But usually time during the break, some people are still working, so literally you're burning yourself out more and more when it comes to that, and that's not the intention with that. So now lessening the load when it comes to hours being worked a week gives you even more time to delve into other different things that you would like to do in your life. So I see it as, as a win-win, but once again, we don't know how that would look or even be implemented in here when in the U.S., but in other places, Iceland in particular, seems like right now the 2 trials they've done, it's been a major success. So we'll see, y'all. But that was all I have for news. I know it was a little bit longer, but hey, y'all, we got to get it out there so I can give it to y'all. But if y'all have anything more for news, please throw it in the comments. Other than that, y'all, I appreciate y'all being here and rocking with me. And before we get into the next topic, I got to look back down here and see what we got in the comments. Boom. We got it. Yes, Cornbread says it sounds like Iceland is making moves towards the green. Iceland, it is the one that has all that green, and then Greenland is the one that's the cold one. So we always got to remember the reverse. So they are, and take care of the workers, and the workers will work better. Facts. Yes, give workers better conditions as well as, proper payments. Look, if you take care of people, they're going to definitely take care of you. That's where the loyalty comes in, and that's where just the trust in that relationship, the rapport building that people speak about goes there. If you're connected to what you're doing, you're sometimes unconsciously, you're just going to continue to work harder at it as well as give your all because you're connected to that. You have either a passion for it or you just feel fully connected to what you're doing. It, to me, makes logical sense, but once again, the U.S. is what the U.S. is. But I'm not saying that's everybody, but just think about it. A number of people say how they hate their job, so think about it. All right, y'all. For the next topic that we're getting into, we're going to be moving now to the topic of words are real spells. And before we even get more into that, y'all can throw it down in the comments and let me know, what do you think when you hear words are real spells? What comes to mind? And as y'all are doing that, like I usually do, I get the definitions up here. I'm going to read the definition of Webster's as well as from the Free Dictionary of what they define the word. How they define the word, which is a part of the show, What's the Word Wednesday. So let's figure out, what does word mean? Right. So from Webster's Dictionary, there's numerous ways to define what the word is. But once again, good to see you in here, Kundan. What's the word? Let me know while we're defining the word. All right, I'm going to stop here. I'm going to stop doing that. All right. So, Webster Dictionary defines word as a speech sound or a series of speech sounds that symbolize and communicates a meaning, usually without being divisible into smaller units, and it's capable of independent use. So it's just not only A, but it's apple. That's a word. People get confused of, like, they say A is an article, or B is a letter, but breakfast is a word. So it's a combination. Second one, it says the entire series of linguistic forms produced by combining a single base with various inflectual elements without change in parts of speech. So different parts of elements, whether we're looking at prefixes and suffixes. What's the definition of spell? I'm going to look that one up too. I don't have it up right now. I'm just only doing word, but we are going to look into spell as well. Another one we have word is a talk, discourse, putting one's feeling into words. The text of vocal music compositions. So basically, when you write in lyrics, write in bars, whatever you got, those are words. I would think so. I don't know. We would be saying what else it is. The act of speaking or making verbal communication, as well as sayings and proverbs. A verbal sign. So I'm telling you what a password is. That's a word. But yeah, that is for Webster's dictionary when it comes to the word. Now, for free dictionary, very similar things. I'm only pick out a few more. Word, another definition for it says hostile or angry remarks made back and forth. So words, so we are speaking words back at each other if we're in that heated type of argument. News, like we're doing. What's the word? Do some news. A command or a direction, as well as an assurance of a promise or sworn intention is a word. So by my word, I will keep this. I swear that I will keep this. I vow. All these different things. But those are some definitions for a word. Now, Kundan also said, what's the definition of spell? We're also going to look that one up too. And again, y'all are welcome to come in and get on the screen. Just know that this does go up on YouTube. If you're not comfortable with that, it's okay. Stay in the comments. But just know, I appreciate you taking your time to be here and to communicate as well as give support. So shouts out to y'all. Now for spell, Webster says that spell is to name the letters of in order. So you name letters in order. So you spell, get it, spelling. But we're going to get more into that with this whole setup of words are real spells. All right. Second one is to write or print the letters in a particular way. Another one, to make up a word. To spell, make up a word. Astronomicopus, like what? I don't know how to spell it. I just made up a word. There it is right there. Second, to add up to. So a spell, you're adding something. To find out by studying. And another one for spell is to read slowly and with difficulty to spell. That's interesting. Another one they have a strong, compelling influence or attraction. Now that's in the sense of we're talking about in a noun. I always forget to add this too. Since we have so many different words in English definition and multiple definitions of just one word, we have them in different tenses, whether if it's noun, verb, transitive verb, it's the objectional, or it's the object of the verb, a transitive verb. There's so many different ways that you can look at this, but it's just interesting to try to break that down. But another one for spell, which is interesting, it says a shift of workers. What's going on? What's the word?
What's the word?
Yeah, we got a number of them.
We finished the current events, yeah?
Yes, we did. And before we do that again, if y'all do not know, down here, this is Kundan. Please follow Kundan. Kundan has so much great information. If you see that arrow that's up there by What's the Word Wednesdays, click on that, follow. You get a lot of not only educational, but also motivational information. So please do. And with that, let us welcome you properly.
And book recommendations, yeah.
As well as book recommendations. So Welcome again, Kundan. What's the word?
Thank you. Yeah. So are we looking into the definition of spells now? Because I got two on my computer screen as well
Okay, no,
from
definitely.
the
Yeah. I wasn't even thinking of going to look into the word spells. I was going to hop up just off of, words and then not
yeah,
definitely spells, but I'm glad that you brought that into it because it's a part
yeah,
of that
is
phrase. So go ahead. What two do
so
you
this
have?
is from the American Heritage Dictionary,
Mm-hmm.
fifth edition. And so there's two definitions of the word spell. One is a word or formula believed to have magic power.
Mm.
And the second definition is a bewitched state or trance.
Wait, give me that second one again.
A bewitched state or trance.
Yeah,
Like a witch, like
yeah,
bewitched. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, yeah. So when you say words are real spells,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more of the second definition because it does any word can sort of bewitch you in a way.
Yes, I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
since we're going off on there,
yeah.
so when we're thinking of that particular tense of words being real spells,
Hmm.
what part does this ultimately play in our daily routine when we're thinking
Hmm.
about words or spells, and what does that play in our daily routine?
Hmm. Would you say that every word is a spell?
I would say not every word is a spell, but combinations of certain words together become different spells. So I wouldn't
Mm,
say just the word the is a spell.
mm,
If you want to find a way to do it, the way you can create that into a spell is making it an acronym or, but the thing is
hmm.
just it's not as powerful of a word or give impact if you were to say to somebody. So I came up to you or I went up to somebody else, I'm like, the. And you're just like,
Hmm.
okay, just the what? Like, what are you getting across? I feel that
Right. Yeah.
the a lot of our articles as well as the conjunctions like and, but, um,
Mm,
is, in, out, like a lot of these words are connector words when it comes to an overall quote unquote spell if we want to create a spell.
hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I would say that maybe, at least in pop culture, affirmations might be
Yes.
like a low level or low spoons version of a spell. You know, when
Yes.
you don't have a lot of spoons, like a lot of energy to do an elaborate, ritual,
Yes.
then an affirmation might be yeah, like a simple spell.
Yes, I mean, I'm
Mm,
glad you brought that up because that was one of the main things that came into my head when I was going to be like, okay, well, what are you talking about when you mean that words are real spells? Well, when
mm,
when thinking of that is like affirmations would end up being a spell because what you're doing is that you're conjuring up not only energy, but what you are doing is you're motivating yourself to do stuff. So people listen to
mm,
motivational talks, motivational sounds, music, as well as people have mantras that they chant
mm,
over and over and over. And when they keep chanting that mantra over, they're trying to tap into what some people would consider to be the
mm.
that whole idea of law of attraction and just putting that out into the universe and you will receive what you end up doing.
Yeah.
Like you become what you end up saying that you are. There's a whole book that's called and it's by James Allen, and I like to reference it a lot. It's called As a Man Thinketh. There's also
Mm,
a book that's also As a Woman Thinketh, but the same principle is there where it is that
right.
you are what you say you are ultimately, because you're planting that seed or you're also putting that energy on yourself that you are. So
Mm-hmm.
when we're talking about it becoming that words are really real spells, the way that you set them up and you put them out to people, it has an ultimate effect on people. Now, on that second
Mm-hmm.
part to that, because now you're making me think more into it, and I'll touch on like why I wanted to bring this up. Um, that's why there's a such thing as bad words, and they have a certain frequency and feel when you put them out to people, as well as when you say it's when you say about where you feel a certain way. So a lot of words, even though they say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words can never harm me. I'm letting y'all know now that particular saying in itself, you need to reanalyze that, because dude, words hurt. Like when people say something, like you you don't necessarily feel it like a physical punch, but it's somewhere here in your psyche, in your mind, that it gets to you when somebody says a particular word or a particular comment. And the reason why is because that word has energy behind it, especially if I say it again, it's a bad word. You can feel that. You feel a certain way because that energy from the bad word from the
Yeah,
person that said
a
to you,
bad
you
word is
feel
like
it.
a curse, right? A
Mm-hmm.
bad
Cursing.
spell.
Cursing, that's a
Yeah,
curse
or
word.
hexing. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
hence the word cuss word. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm glad you brought up the mantras because, as you know, that's from my Hindu and Buddhist culture. And I have at least two or three videos up on my YouTube channel on the difference between mantras and affirmations because
Yes.
one of my pet peeves is people conflating the two, which, by the way,
Mm.
is why definitions are important, why we always
Yes.
do definitions, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, in our culture, there are two types of mantras. And so, and first of all, how you know something is a mantra is that it's not in English. If it's in English, it's not a mantra. Your mantras can only exist in Sanskrit, and the reason is because the Sanskrit language, the way it's structured,
Yes.
is literally structured around, like all of the sounds are
Sound. Yep.
built around our skull shape and our vocal cords. It's built to activate a specific vibrations in our vocal cords and
Yes.
in our entire body, right? Which is
Mm-hmm.
why there are two types of mantras. The number one type, which exists in both Hinduism and Buddhism, is that a mantra is meaningless. It has no meaning.
Mm.
And so this is why a mantra cannot be an affirmation because affirmations actually have meaning, right?
Yes.
So a mantra has no meaning because it's actually literally meant to transcend the conceptual mind,
Yeah.
transcend all ideas, and help you get into your true self beyond systemic conditioning.
Yes.
So, for example, in Tibetan indigenous Buddhism, for example, on that side, there is the sound ah, which is a
Mm.
mantra for openness. When you say ah, whenever you feel constricted or you
Mm-hmm.
don't feel free, if you say ah, it's literally the sound of openness. So it opens you
Mm.
up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So but it has no actual meaning, right? Now,
Mm.
the second type of mantra sort of has a meaning, but not in the sense that we would think. It's more about connecting to our Hindu deities, right?
Hmm.
And our deities are not gods and goddesses in the way we've been programmed to think,
Yeah.
or we've been colonized to think. Our deities are more like cosmic forces
Hmm.
that kind of influence. I wouldn't say control, like they're more like influence and
Okay.
impact specific areas of life or the universe.
Mm-hmm.
So when you are connecting to that deity, you're connecting to a cosmic force in order to activate specific life areas. So
Mm.
you're so it's almost like so yes, you used to connect. So there are specific mantras for specific deities. In
Yeah.
fact, there are even specific mantras that that are hereditary, that only people in certain families
Yeah.
know and only they can use. They're like
Hmm.
passed down. So even as a Hindu, there are some mantras that I don't have access to, that I'm not allowed to use because I'm
Mm.
not part of that family lineage,
Yeah.
right? So that's why I get a kick out of a lot of white people or even non-Hindus and non-Buddhists,
Yeah.
you know, saying affirmations are mantras. Because I'm like, I as a Hindu, I'm not allowed to use certain mantras.
Yes.
So yeah, and that's the problem with cultural appropriation too, right? Where we don't realize that some things uh, are not used even by the people of the culture.
Yeah. And
So
they
anyway,
start to lose their
that's
yeah, and they start to
right. So
lose their
anyways, that's
initial
right,
structure as well as their
right.
initial meaning. And
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah.
glad you brought that up too, because I will say
Mm,
this. I always heard people always use those terms interchangeably, a mantra
mm-hmm.
and affirmation. But I'm glad you brought that up because of the fact that when I saw like there's only particular sounds that were being said, like the universal one of like that
Mm-hmm.
literally being one of those. I was like,
Right.
why do people also say like a mantra is to say like I am great, I am this, and I'm just like, hmm, it's interesting like using that pairing, but that's why, like you said, getting at least a definition to at least have
Exactly.
that setting to be like, okay, well, technically is not what you think it is. People use it that way, but it's not to be used that way.
Right.
Um,
Whereas an affirmation is a set of words, a sentence used to
mhm.
change your subconscious state in
Yes.
order to reprogram your mind from, I would say, less effective programming or useless programming, right, into more
Yes.
effective programming, right, from like self-sabotage programming into more effective programming. So
Yes.
if you've been told over and over that you are not good enough, right, and you've been programmed to believe I am bad or I'm not good enough, right, which by the way is a curse, right? Is you've been hacked by your upbringing or whatever,
Yes.
right? If that's a bad spell that you're talking about, then you replace it with the good spell and affirmation. You decide to say, I am good enough, and you repeat that to reprogram your subconscious mind. So it's like totally different paradigm from a mantra.
Yes.
Yeah,
And on top of that,
yeah,
just to quickly break down, since we're gonna talk about it, I'm
yeah.
gonna tell you why I want to bring up words and real spells, and then we'll continue in.
Mm-hmm,
Even the word itself, like you said, affirmation,
mm-hmm,
affirming a form of affirmation, and when you think you're putting yourself in a particular formation, that means you're
mm-hmm,
basically putting yourself not only in the mindset, but in your forming, putting yourself in a particular form, whatever that is. So I'm affirming that I am more greater than this. So now you are forming yourself and putting yourself in that line to be whatever that you're affirming. So
mm-hmm.
even breaking the
It's
word
funny
down
you
into
say
certain
that.
syllables, but go ahead.
It's funny you say that because a friend of mine, Noah St. John, actually invented a new version of affirmations that he calls affirmations.
Add
He literally,
formations. Yep.
yeah, he literally calls them affirmations. So basically, instead of uh, saying I am good enough or I am lovable or I'm rich, he has you ask a question like, why am I rich? Why am I good enough? Why am I so lucky? And his reasoning is that when you ask the mind a question, especially your subconscious, it's like the ultimate Google. It's designed to keep looking for an answer. So he says asking yourself a question is a better way to program because then the mind doesn't resist it anymore. The mind wants to answer the question.
That's a great way to flip that because
Right.
it
Yeah.
it makes a lot of sayings and these
Mm-hmm.
affirmations have complete because you'll be like, yes,
Mm-hmm.
I am grateful, but in your mind, okay,
But
what are you
why?
grateful
Yeah.
for? Like, what
Right.
are you grateful for? And
Yeah.
then that
Yeah.
literally now you asking the question like, what are you grateful for? You can add on top of that, if you still want to use that formation, you
Right.
know, you still say like, I'm grateful
Mm-hmm.
because that I have all that I need to suffice myself to live this life. Like then it's like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, now I know why I'm grateful versus just throwing it out there. Like it's cool, it's a start, but it's not a
Mm-hmm.
completion of the quote unquote spell. All right,
Right.
now
Yeah.
before we get into more of it like that too, the reason why y'all wanted to bring up at least this particular you can say topic for today is because one, I do have a series that I do break down words called Words Are Real Spells on YouTube, and I
Mm-hmm.
go into different details of words using different definitions and also using um, some of the etymology of words, which etymology is the origin of words. It's what they assumed, the words, should mean, not what they are truly what they mean because they're studying the word. Um, but reason why I wanted to get into really the words are real spells, not just because of that, but I am an avid person of one again, we use words and it's very important to know what you're saying and what you're doing on a daily basis that it actually has an impact on how your day is. That's why there's different sayings within culture of, I know Little John, it was like, don't start those stuff on Beano stuff, as well as when in your mom or in other songs it says, if you don't have nothing nice to say, then don't say nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately the underlining truth in this is that words do hold a lot of power, even though we say that, that they
Mm-hmm.
don't, that physical things more so have the power, but words really do. You can see it play out not only in the programming on news reports when they use particular words and articles in ways that they bring about the news to influence certain emotions and feelings, but also to even trigger certain things in your mind or subconscious mind to subscribe to. So that's why I say that words are real spells, because of how powerful those things can be. And the other thing on top of that is, I found out early when I was looking at words as a kid, my favorite subject actually when I was in school was spelling. I
Mm-hmm.
just like just using new words, finding out what they mean. I also would start putting my own meanings on these words and just changing how they would format when it comes to just speaking with people. So I also started to think to myself, I was like, why do we call it spelling? If it's words, why wouldn't we
Right.
call it wording? But the reason why is because of the fact that when you are spelling something out or spelling a word out, again, you're sending that energy and you're sending that particular frequency out into the world, and it's either creating your reality or it's affecting somebody else's reality in some way, shape, and form. I'll give some examples.
Mm-hmm.
Before I do, I got to shout out the brother Nordic, a Nomadic
Hello,
Odyssey in the building.
nomadic.
What's the word? Peace and love to you, brother. Um, for example, everybody, not everybody, but a number of us, myself included, know about the word morning. And
Mm-hmm.
if you don't know about the word morning, the crazy and trippy thing about morning, and I found this out early as a kid, um, and what it actually brings with it, depending on how you spell it, again, it has not
Right.
only a different meaning, but in itself, it has such a deeper connection than you would think. So you're like, okay, what are you
Mm.
talking about? Get to the point. All right. So with morning, basically, with the U, so the morning is spelled with U. I'm not going to spell the whole thing
Oh,
out.
that morning. Right. Yeah.
Yes, that
Yeah.
particular morning,
Mm-hmm.
it hasn't to do the type of day, but with the R added into it, it literally means literally death, bringing apart that.
Mm-hmm.
So when I would always hear people telling me good morning, or I said that to my mom one time, I said good morning, but I spelled it the morning with the UR. She was like,
Mm-hmm.
nobody's dead. What do you mean morning? Like, why did you send me that? And I'm like, wait, what? I was like, and I looked at it, I was like, that's crazy. By just one missing of a letter, like it changes the whole
Mm-hmm.
format of what that is. But the crazy thing of why saying good morning to somebody is you're basically saying, good awakening from a death when you think about it in a deeper
Oh, from the
context
night
and
when you were
everything, from
sleeping,
the
right?
night when you're sleeping. And the whole setup with that is there's a whole
You're
thing of
kind of
like,
semi-dead. Yeah.
yeah. So it's because they say
That's
sleep
funny.
is the cousin of death, right? So
Right.
like
Yeah.
look it, there's so many layers that to be added to this, but
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons why I step away from not always using the word morning in itself, because of the fact that I know, because now I consciously know what that word means and I send that to somebody else. I don't want to, but just for people to understand it and to get it, I would tell them particularly why. So that's why I don't necessarily say good morning anymore. I'll either say, good day, like people used to say good day, as well as how other people say grand rising, because again, you're getting
Mm-hmm.
up and you're,
Yeah.
now it's on to a new day. Because I'll put this all together so then y'all know now, and then Kundan, if you have something, you can too. When we put it all together, and you tell somebody you can do this. This is some stuff they say from Egypt. There's a whole setup with this too. But there was a thing between Asar and Osiris, the whole setup that even Heru was supposed to symbolize the day, and then Osiris had died and he became the king of the underworld, which some people know in Greek and Roman mythology as Hades. But ultimately, the whole process of the good morning basically is saying that when you rise basically at night you die. So when you come back for the next day, you are renewed to a new person. So that's why they say good morning, because you are awake, because you have awakening from a death, from what that is. And if you know what awake is, you will ultimately know that awake is a funeral. So why would people say, as in this awakening from this particular, from your sleep? It
Mm-hmm.
has that whole little effect to it. I know y'all can be like, okay, he thinking too hard and deep and stuff,
Yeah.
but y'all know, I'm just saying, that's why I'm giving the details to why I'm saying words are real spells, because the combination of how you put them together and where you put them, it has an effect on you. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I'll let you go, Kundan, because I have another example, but if you have something, go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny you say all this, and this is a very timely and relevant topic for me this week because, as you might know, I've been facilitating a story journey through the Freedom Artist by Dan Oakley,
Mm-hmm.
and we have so I have a group of 5 people participating, and I'm the facilitator. And what's fascinating about this story is that it's basically about a super oppressive regime called the hierarchy,
Yes.
which has like total control over the population, right?
Mm.
Basically, and almost total control.
Subject.
And then so it's like a dystopian novel, right? But also
Mm.
filled with a lot of magical realism. And then and then most of the population is basically sleepwalking
Yeah.
through everything that they're doing. Even the bankers and the cashiers are basically actually like doing it while they're sleeping, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and then there are these freedom fighters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who are trying to wake people up first by painting basically graffiti on walls, similar to what Banksy does, painting
Yes.
questions like "Who is the prisoner?" Right? But later on, they start
Mm.
dropping like leaflets from the sky, right? Or even passing it onto the street. But each of the leaflets, instead of a huge pamphlets,
Yes.
it has just one word,
Mm.
and they're words like "uprise" or "upwake." They're like single words. Uh, So almost like the words are spells to wake people up.
Yes.
And then it turns out later on in the story there are these uh, some of these freedom fighters actually receive training, a
Hmm.
magical training, and they receive a word during that training, and that word is a word that they're supposed to give to the rest of the population.
Mm.
Yeah,
Wow. Wow.
yeah.
See again, y'all. They're very powerful. And I mean,
Hmm.
as you were saying that, Kundan, it made me think
Hmm.
of another example of just breaking a particular word down. Um, and then I have another example too. Is the word memorize.
Mm,
So when you think of, and I might break this even further down, this is just a quick off the fly breakdown, but even in that word, memorize. So the more that you
mm,
start to remember and you keep adding either these mantras or not necessarily mantras, but the affirmations in your head, you
mm,
the more that you memorize them, you will rise to what you want to remember more of. So that's why you repeat things over and over again, so that you can have more of you being able to have it locked in here, and it'll help you either rise to whatever you're trying to accomplish. So if you're trying to memorize some lyrics for a poem or memorize some lyrics from a song or even for a test, the reason why is because you want to rise to the occasion to basically not only either ace the test or to be able to successfully put your product of words and your poems out in succession. So that's why you memorize it even more. So
right.
I just thought it made me just think of that real quick. That's off the fly. That may not be one. I'll do more research on it, but that's just something I just thought of on the fly, y'all.
Right, and then if you combine words in a longer format, right,
Mm-hmm.
they can become a story. And I feel like stories are the ultimate spells, right, because of
Mm.
how much of a trance you're put in. Going back to the definition of bewitched state or trance, right?
Yes.
So I feel like the world is literally made up of story spells that
Mm.
either are beneficial for us or they're hexing us or cursing us, right? So then the question
Mm.
becomes how do you break the spell, right?
Mm,
And I read another novel this year called Ray Bearer by Jordan Ifrioko,
yeah.
and she has a very powerful, interesting premise, which is also related to our Buddhist culture from
Hmm.
my country, where she says that there's one thing that is more powerful than any wish, because spells are basically wishes, right?
Mm,
In a way. So
hmm.
there's one thing that's more powerful than any wish in the world, any human wish, right? And that is a purpose,
Mm,
especially purpose for justice.
that is very powerful. Yes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yeah, it makes you, yeah, it starts to make me really think like, yeah, when people really get caught in a rut with their thinking and things of that nature, um, they tend to forget, what was the initial purpose in the first place. They just know that they've gotten into the state and now they feel this particular way, but not knowing, okay, then like what is the purpose of why am I feeling this particular way. So a lot of the introspection, it's a lot of it we say that is a physical war, we also know is a spiritual, and it's also a mental war that goes on, because a lot of that
Mm-hmm.
really happens there in the mind. Now, the second example I wanted to add when it came to I gave the second and third example of words being real spells, and y'all can YouTube this stuff. You can look these things up. There's articles and there's research that's been done. I have their whole videos. Like I said, words are real spells, a series I have on YouTube. Check that out. Subscribe, do all of that. But there is a whole experiment that was done with not only water but plants, and depending on the particular word a person said to the plant, as well as what they said to
Mm-hmm.
just any the water, what they done, you would see a change not only in if it grew or if it withered, but in the water you would see there's certain different crystals and formations that they will make. So if I were to say I hate you to a plant, and this would maybe you do it through a 3 week cycle. I say I love you to another plant, and then to the other plant, you just do what you regularly do. You water and do whatever else to it. You, after those 3 weeks, you start to notice that the plant that got said that I hate you, it started to turn over and
Mm-hmm.
wither, while the other one that said I love you really started to grow and blossom. And the one that just was like, all right, I just give you the water and
Mm-hmm.
everything else, it made its growth, but not as much that it could have with the one that said I love you. So it's just showing you, even in
Mm-hmm.
that sense, of how powerful words to particular living, or say non-living, but plants are living, they grow, beings, and how that can have an ultimate effect. You think of the physical, the psychological abuse that goes on
Mm-hmm.
with people. And again, like you said, telling people that they're ugly, telling people that they're this, they'll never get to this, anything of that. That's
Mm-hmm.
very damaging, because again, if we think about the whole flower stuff too, are you really helping to water that seed, whether if it's a kid, child, whoever it is, or are you starting to take more away from it to let it wither, which is very crazy. Um, on top of that, this is a random one too, but this made me really be like, yeah, words is crazy. As a kid, my mom, again, I'm using this because my mom must have knew stuff, even though she unknowingly would just randomly tell me things. My mom told me if I go speak to the plants that they would grow faster. So there's flowers outside my house. And one day I was like, you know what? This is as a kid. I want to say maybe second, third grade. Like this, like I'm really small. So I just go outside and there's flowers there growing outside in the front. And I just go up to one of the flowers I see, and I'm just kept saying, I'm like, you're so beautiful. You're this. You look nice. Like saying like a
Mm-hmm.
lot of that, like saying beautiful. You can do it. You can grow. After I said that just a few times, seconds later, tell me why the flower blossomed right in front of my face. Like it just
Wow.
literally blossomed right in front of my face. You can say, well, oh, that was just, a happenstance. It just happened, you got lucky. But I was just like, in the same sense, I'm like, yo, how crazy is that? Like, I'm saying this directly to, I didn't say to the other flowers. I said to this one specific just flower that was right there saying that, and it just blossomed right in front of my face. And that's when I
Wow.
knew also, too, I'm just like, yo, there is something to this. And then bring it back to where we are here
Like
with
it
it now.
literally moved.
It, no,
That's
it fully bloomed. Like it was just like
wow.
in the little green, like in this little cocoon or whatever you
Mm-hmm.
want to say. And after I said like you're beautiful and done that a number of times, it just slowly just opened up and blossomed.
Wow,
And I was
that's
just,
amazing.
as a kid, I tripped out about that. So I took that with me even when I went and worked with kids. I told them like, oh yeah, if you want to see, not saying you want to see a flower, but be nice to the flowers, tell them that you like them and they'll grow fast, bruh. Because I had to happen to me. But again, there's different variables that can go into that. But it just still came to show me how powerful, words are when it comes to your intention behind using the word. So don't forget, like you can just throw words out there randomly with just because, but usually most of the time when you're sending out a word, a phrase, or spell whatever to a person, it's with some type of intention. Whether
Mm-hmm.
if that intention is to help, harm, hinder, whatever it may end up being. And I didn't even mean to have all of those be H's, but they just did. But just knowing how powerful that in its sense is with words being spells, you have to be aware of what you're saying and what you're doing. Now, the
Mm-hmm.
question to add on top of that before we even move to anything else is then, you know, like we talking about how it's being used, but like why do we necessarily need to watch the particular words that we say on a daily basis? I'm like, we talked about how it has some type of role, but why do we need to watch the words that we say on a daily basis or what we use?
Mm-hmm. Why do we need to watch the words that we use?
Yeah. So I mean, either or if not,
Yeah,
like what's
I
like.
think it's the main thing is our lack of, especially from my Buddhist background, right? It's a lack of self-awareness
Mm,
and especially of your true nature, right? So
mm-hmm.
when you're not aware of it, you can be easily influenced by all of the spells going around in the world because, as I've said earlier, the world is literally made up of these spells, right?
Yes.
Especially the story spells and these curses that are cursing us all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But also even the spells in general for good or bad, right? And
Mm-hmm.
even when they're good, sometimes it's not our choice. It's like it's something that's uh, imposed onto us. And to a certain extent, co-creation is good, but
Mm-hmm.
sometimes if it's not actually what we want, then even the good spells may not necessarily be beneficial for us, right?
Yes.
So to me, the reconnecting to my Buddhism, at least this aspect of it, gives me a
Mm-hmm.
lot of hope because otherwise it's kind of scary, right?
Yeah.
Since we're literally being cast with spells all the time, right?
Yes.
So similar to what Jordan Ifiogo said and Ray Barrett, that a purpose is greater than a spell, especially purpose for justice, right? There is something that's the ultimate spell in Buddhism. Guess what? It's truth. So spells are basically
Yes.
lies, right? Because they're fabrications,
Yes.
right? So truth is the ultimate spell and spellmaker simultaneously. That's why in Buddhism, or at least in our Burmese Buddhism,
It's
there's
a
a very
pillar.
specific, yeah, there's a very specific way to cast a spell or even a curse by using truth itself. So you make a statement such as, if this is true or if X is true,
Okay.
then may that
Conditional
happen to this
statements.
person, right? And this
Mm-hmm.
is actually harder than it sounds, right? Because even a statement like I'm Kundan, right? It
Mm-hmm.
sounds true, but it's actually not true. Because Kundan is
Mm.
just a name. I'm
Yes.
not Kundan. I'm not my name.
That's where we get into the like specifics and
Yeah,
particulars of things because we
yeah,
do work in a lot of
yeah,
generalities of things. But yes,
right.
I see you on that.
Yeah,
Dang,
yeah,
you really
yeah.
had me really, yeah, you got me with that. I mean, it does make sense.
Hmm.
A lot of these spells being that and how the truth is the that ultimate decider in just knowing of
Mm-hmm.
breaking a particular spell. That makes sense because look at y'all. There's a reason why you have to also be aware of movies. If y'all don't know, movies be actually giving us game on how to not only quote unquote break spells, but what is being done and used. You think it's just
Mm-hmm.
only for entertainment? I also broke down that word entertainment, which is basically an activity, a given activity that is meant to contain or distract you. Like literally, like that's what entertainment
You
is.
enter
An
into the
enter and
containment.
containment of a,
Yeah.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. So I mean, again, y'all, that's why it's just imperative. Like the awareness is definitely key. I'm not saying like, oh yeah, I'm gonna start just nitpicking every single word that I'm using in life. So then I'm literally just no. It's just on a daily basis, just being mindful of not only what comes out of your mouth, but also what you're sending out to other people. To just be conscious just of the words that you're using. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you're doing it again, like I said, the intention behind it, it can still be good and it's all well. Like but this is just
Mm-hmm.
where when you start getting into more knowledge of what words and how powerful and things that they can hold, that's where things could start to shift and change with that. Now,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
with
truth is
those,
the purest energy, nomadic
yes,
sense. Yeah.
yes. So with words being particular spells, and shouts out to the brother Prolific Hands. What's going on, Cuzzo? What's the word? Um, and why it's important to particularly watch your words is because you don't necessarily know, because if you're not aware again to it, you don't know what the effects will be when having a particular word done and said, like just breaking it down. You can think you saying a word means one thing to you, but the intention to another person can mean something completely different. As well as since we have all these different other
Mm-hmm.
types of languages, which the word language in itself, languish, like literally causing some type of pain and some type of frustration, because I know people get frustrated because we don't if you don't speak the same language as somebody else, you don't know what's going on. So
Mm-hmm.
there's also different words in other languages that have a whole different meaning, and it can be offensive, it can be something
Mm-hmm.
you have to at least you can be mindful of that. I mean, some people are willing to let you know, but you have to be mindful. On top of that, I wanted to add some more things to it, and then we're gonna move to the next topic, the last one for tonight. If you have anything else, Kundan, just let me know. As well as if anybody else wants to join, we can have
Mm-hmm.
4 people on here, which includes, of course, us two already. So another 2 people can be on with us if you are willing to. Um,
Yeah,
but
I wanted to add one more thing because going back to the definition, right?
yes.
Here, a spell is a bewitched state or trance, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by definition, uh, as I said earlier, it adds to the idea that by definition itself, a spell is a lie because it is a
Mm-hmm.
bewitched state, which is why truth can break the spell, right?
Yes.
So it takes this whole idea in Buddhism into a deeper level now, why we spend so much time in meditation and awareness practices to know our true nature
Yes.
is to break all of the spells of systemic conditioning
Mm-hmm.
because truth is the ultimate spell breaker.
Yeah. That's what the programming. That's why I
Yeah.
said movies again. The I would say
Mm-hmm.
the top or the pinnacle right now of analogies, of course, is the Matrix. Like literally the red pill
Mm-hmm.
and the blue pill. That whole
Right.
thing of like breaking from the Matrix and learning the true realities that is behind it, depending on which particular pill or perspective that you end up
Right.
taking. So yes, movies have these hidden gems. That's why people using and reference them
Mm-hmm.
so much, y'all. Another thing that I wanted to add in. Everybody can look this up again. These are just information that I've come across. It doesn't mean that it's set in stone, but the word grammar itself comes from, and I forget particularly the language because I'm gonna get into it with these definitions. Grimoire, which literally means a book of spells. So when we're talking about using particular grammar, we're talking about getting information from a book of spells. And what's grammar in this particular case of English language? Look, even grammar is there's grammar books. So there's book of spells. Like it's crazy once you start to go and do the study on the particular words, it starts to make a lot of sense. So
Oh
when
my
we speak
God.
about Harry Potter and we
Hmm.
talk about, being a magician and wizard and all this other stuff, honestly, y'all, we are all wizards because of the fact that the words and the way things we use them, it ultimately has an impact on what's going on around us. I'm not saying it's
Hmm.
gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna be a millionaire and I'm gonna be a millionaire on this day. Not in that particular case of manifestation, but just the whole idea of that. It creates not only that possibility, but the intention, everything else that's put behind it, and you put that together, the energy, you start to notice that it has an effect. That's why there's so many things that to me makes this a reality, or at least this is particularly real, because there's also monks and other people in different places who literally do prayers, meditations, and other different things. And that literally is not only of them, not only speaking of words, but they are putting together energy to and have some type of influence in the world in some way, shape, or form. I know there was one that happened where there was a group of monks who meditated on dropping. I think we spoke about it before, dropping the rate of crime in a particular case, and it showed in a certain place and time that actually worked, where crimes were low at like a particular day or two, just because of the fact that they were meditating, putting that energy out
Hmm.
there. So
But
yeah,
what you
yeah.
said earlier, it's so eye-opening when you define grammar like that. It puts a whole different angle, a deeper angle to the idea that, especially in racial justice circles and these conversations, when people say people who
Mm,
keep policing grammar being ableist, classist, and even racist, because some people
mm.
are speaking in a sub-dialect of English with their own grammar
Yes.
that may sound ungrammatical to Queen's English or American English, but they have their own grammar. But when
Yes.
they're policing that grammar and calling it ungrammatical and making fun of them, or you know trying to say they're wrong or whatever, they're literally trying to recast the Queen's English spell or the American English spell back on them.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's just mind blowing. Yes.
Exactly. So I'm gonna flip it real
Yeah.
quick, y'all. It doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily, like I said, I found it somewhere else where it said like it was a book of spells, but I like to use this place right here, and this is the online etymology. So if you want to know, like,
Mm.
going deep into it, but grammar itself, it says right there, it says Latin grammar rules, boom, boom, boom. French with grammare, which means grammar, learning. But you get down here, especially Latin and right here it says also magic, incantation, spells, mumbo jumbo. So even down here it's letting you know that literally grammar,
Right. Yeah.
incantation, spells, all of that is there. It's in our plain
Hmm.
sight, and it's being used. And you just have to be, like I said, it's again, I always keep coming back to the whole awareness piece, but it's very helpful to just know what's going on around you and what you use now.
Right. Yeah, because there's like Jamaican English, there's Pidgin English, right?
Yes.
And then there is AAV, African American Vernacular English, right? And
Ebonics.
Ebonics, right? The funny thing is, even in England, there is Cockney English, right? But nobody's
Mm-hmm.
policing their grammar, right? So, so there's different dialects even in the original country that English is from.
Yes. Which I mean,
Yeah,
to go back in
yeah,
this
yeah,
particular stuff can also pair back to the
yeah,
previous episode when we was talking about signs and symbols, and this is going back
right.
all to the origins of like where words and everything and stuff originated.
Hmm.
But we're not gonna go that deep into it, y'all. But I want to go next into this last topic for tonight. So if y'all have more
Hmm.
stuff, please drop it in there. But the last topic that we have for tonight, and we've been speaking on it a bit, is why there are or aren't any universal definitions.
Hmm.
And the reason why I wanted to bring this up too is because of the fact that we already speaking about words and their intentions and that they have multiple different meanings and sayings. And especially within the English language, they have a multitude of definitions. I can't have one personally for me on that part of why they aren't universal definitions is because family can mean one definition to me and family means definition completely different from you. And
Hmm.
part of the reasons why I put that there, and I say personally that there aren't any really universal definitions, is because in English's conception, if y'all don't know, we always say that it's a weird language. Well, there's a reason why it's a weird language, because I'm gonna use this metaphor. It's a Frankenstein language, y'all. It's not an, you can say, organic language. It borrows from a multitude of other different languages. So that's why we have the different variances and pronunciations. That's why you saw on there, you saw some French and you saw Latin, because the different other older languages had an influence on what words also come in and to be used within English. So in this case, I got a percentage because I was looking this up a while back because I wanted to start learning more about words. But as of right now, at least modern day English language, it is made up of 29% of it is Latin, 29% of it is French, 26% of it is Germanic. Let me jump, all of that there. 6% of it is Greek. So you got some of the Greek in there. That's why there's a such thing as a Greek and Latin. For me, I had a class in high school where we studied Greek and Latin roots within words, and that's how you be able to piece. And if you didn't know a definition of a word, you knew parts of the Greek and Latin roots, and you're able to figure it out. Another 6% is other, so that literally I say has influences when it comes to just modern day society, so how that changes. And then the last 4% is of names. So when we're talking about Google, when we Google something in that particular self, as well as we think of a Hoover or we think of an Amazon or like anything of this particular nature, 4% of the English language also is made up of particular names. So
Yeah, there's a lot of Hindi words too, like bazaar. Bazaar is even the word shampoo actually comes from the word shampoo because, and that's why I said that on a side note, we literally taught them how to use shampoo. They didn't have it before, so it comes from the word shampoo.
wow.
Yeah,
They,
yeah.
exactly, y'all. But when it comes back to thinking about why, there aren't really any universal definitions besides
Mm-hmm.
it because the English language is a Frankenstein language
Mm-hmm.
composed of so many different parts in other different places. Another reason why is because of the fact that literally we continue as we continue to go through life, we also change the fabric of it. So that's why we continue to add new words and they start to have all different meanings. And old words that we used to have become what we call archaic, or they're not used anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And that is another reason why we don't have universal definitions, because words come in and out of use as time ages on, and they start to end up have different meanings. But I don't know if any of y'all would even guess this. It's just funny how society ends up working. In one day in time, when you would hear the word floss, you would think, oh, that has to do with, the line you do and put through your teeth. Who would have known that later on down the life that when somebody says do the floss, it's literally end up being a dance. So now when you think of also another word of floss, it also has to do with the dance.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's why you have a whole idea too with not only the word bark being of a tree, but it's also the sound from an animal. But then also there's just like so many different layers to this stuff. That's why you have different literary terms of there being alliteration, homonyms, homophones. All of this particular stuff within the English language is because of the fact that one word just can't mean one word. It has to mean
Mm-hmm.
multiple different words. And the more that we do that, the more we continue to not only complicate language itself, but we complicate the way that we are able to communicate and understand each other. And peace outs to the brothers Ryan and Kishon in the
And
building.
also
What's the
like
word?
brings up the topic of uh, is there a gender, right? Not to be too
Oh, you're good.
conspiracy theory, but like, is there an agenda behind why certain words are not used anymore, right?
Mm.
Why they become archaic, right?
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I asked is because out of curiosity, a few months ago, I looked up the etymology of the word perspicacity, right?
Interesting.
So perspicacity is a word that means a penetrating discernment or a clarity of vision, right?
Mm.
And then when I looked it up, interestingly enough, it comes from the word perspicance.
Yeah, I already said. I said that one already, brother Ryan. Yeah, we said that earlier. I have a whole song on that. I have a whole song on that, Ryan. But we did talk about morning, and then I didn't necessarily talk about week, but I have a whole thing with that too, brother. So we on the same thing right there, Ryan. But continue, Kundan.
So there's a related word, if you look up the etymology, called prospicans, which means foresight or the act of looking forward, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
there's a word that's even older called perspicans, which actually means infinite sight. Now it's like, well,
Mm.
so there's a reason why some people might not want people in modern times to know that word anymore. They don't want us to have that infinite sight.
That's why, on top of that, of certain words going out,
Mm-hmm.
because when we talk about history, his story, her story, however you want to end up putting it, not only do they not take out historical things that happened when you're being conquered, you also got to end up, they
Mm.
literally, you burn information of books and other different past knowledge
Like the Library of
because,
Alexandria, they burnt it.
yes, because when you do things of that, you lose the root. So if you do not
Mm-hmm.
know where things have originated, you don't know where they derive or the root of these things, you can't trace them back. So if we only just knew just the word, decision, and we only just knew that it was decision and that's the root of it, and we didn't go back to
Mm-hmm.
figure out that it actually means when you get a decision, it is basically you going in to create some type of force to discern something deeper, and then
Mm.
you find the word discern and you're like, okay, what does discern mean? And then you start
Mm.
getting back and back, and you find out that, oh, this has to do with this particular thing during Egypt or a different civilization. And then that's where you start
Mm.
learning more information about different civilizations. But see, look, I get you on that. That's why certain words are put and taken out,
Mm.
not only because they don't serve a purpose into today's vernacular or today's words, but you begin to, again, you lose that sacred tradition of knowing the history behind it, to know civilizations before then, because of the fact that the
Mm-hmm.
word starts to fade into obscurity. uh but let's see, the brother down here got the most elegant form of writing writes is cursive. English is the most cursed language because of international curses added. However,
Mm.
curse opens the ability to be cured. Interesting.
Mm.
We and look at
Interesting.
I'm Ryan. I appreciate you putting that in here too, because we were tapping into that too, and Kundan brought up that literally within the Buddhist teachings, if not in that form, that for to break one of those curses, not only just creating the curse from that spell, which in turn looks to be a lie, finding and to break that is not only through with the purpose but with truth. So knowing
Mm-hmm.
the reality of what you're truly in ends up breaking you out of that curse. So you say a
Yep.
truthful statement out of something, and it might break you out of the curse of being not depressed or whatever state you may be in, because you speak something of truth. But see, I feel you on
Mm-hmm.
that. You can. I mean, that within a curse, that's why there's a such thing as in English too. You don't use double negatives because they just cancel each other out, right? So
Mm.
if you use a curse and then you use another curse to go from to combat the other curse, they cancel, quote unquote, supposed to cancel each other out. So
Mm.
I love that you brought that up, Ryan. I appreciate that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Now, on top of you had saying that, that's why yes, words disappear and they're not being they don't use as much, as because you lose the history and the the more hidden truth behind it. Now, another reason why, for me personally, and y'all can argue and also say that there are some universal definitions, and you can give me examples of words that there are some just we know this word to mean this word and nothing else. But in my case, that there aren't no universal definitions is because, again, um, some particular words after a while begin to not only imitate different sounds, but again, they get borrowed from different places. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, not only talking about the borrowing of what a mantra and everything else is and how it gets changed, a whole setup of like telephone, but a particular sound, and it starts to make me think of the cancel culture nowadays, or the PC culture, is you can come up with a particular word that used to be said or a particular sound, but later on down the line in history, it might just become offensive to somebody. And that's another reason why we can't have universal definitions of particular words, is because
Yeah,
later on down the line, it's going to end
I
up.
posted something about an example on, it's a repost from Alok Menon's history lesson. So
Yes.
apparently the word heterosexual used to be a slur.
Oh, yeah, I remember you did post that. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, and I got a kick out of that. And in fact, the word straight was actually invented by gay people.
See, and if we don't look into this stuff, we don't know. I'm not saying like, yes, y'all got to
Mm-hmm.
become historians on just words and everything in life. No, we all have a particular purposes that helps us to break unknowing spells. But nowadays, there should be no reason for you to just continue to just move through life unknowingly. There's no
Mm-hmm.
time for people to be what some people would say ignorant, but I wouldn't even necessarily use the word ignorance like that, because in the root of the word ignorance, you have the word ignore. So that doesn't mean that you don't know what's going on. It's that you do know what's going on, but you choose to ignore the fact. So
Mm-hmm.
you're in a state of choosing to not go into whatever that is. So,
Mm-hmm.
but there's no reason for you to just let things continue to slide by and don't do anything. And I'm not saying go out here and
Mm-hmm.
become the super activist, or like I said, study and become this great, scholar historian. You don't have to. In your everyday life, you can just do certain different changes that can not only help you, not only health wise, maybe like what you eating, but also like when we talk about raising, or why people have either low self-esteem and things of that nature, like even working on that, your self-image, and be able to build up your confidence and things of that nature. Those are little small steps that you can do to help improving yourself and becoming a more aware to the fact of how this in the world and stuff moves. And then later on, you start getting into all these different topics, and then that's where you can start to take your journey even further. Because if you're just there, just complacent, chilling, just watching everything and not even questioning of a why or what's happening, you not only become become part of that problem, you start to get further and further away from the root of you also are that solution. So
Mm-hmm.
it's and not me over here trying to preach the same thing to y'all, but yes, for me, another reason why it's not any universal definitions is because of the fact that within it continues to be borrowed and changed from other different places. It can start ultimately offending people, and then once we start really, again, like you said, restricting grammar and speech of what people can end up saying, we start to
Mm-hmm.
restrict not only the truth but the history of roots and words.
Mm-hmm.
Now we got in here, it says and then there's a whole modern social media language where Gen Z is creating a whole new lexicon of synchronicity, curse,
Yes, they
cures,
are.
meaning. Yes, yeah, exactly. Ignorance is a choice to ignore. A bit of stillness will automatically show us what we are ignoring. Yes, that's why when people look at, I'm a throw it again. Kunin, you already heard it, but I'm gonna say it in a different way. But I'm gonna give y'all right now a key, and the brother Ryan already said it, but I'm gonna put it in a different way. But another key in life for you to successfully assess and grow, be in the present. Take moment to be with yourself in solitude. And when I mean
Yep.
solitude, you can even look at the word solitude. It has solid and then intude. So you are creating a foundation, a rock hard foundation to keep yourself grounded so that when words and things come up to you, you're not going to be the same statistic of they saying that a fool that doesn't stand for nothing, falls for everything. You go into that solitude, you do your work, you observe, you be in the present, then you start to figure out and observe it. Now you see why, a lot of this stuff wasn't as what I thought it was. All right, so now your mind starts to think and you start to come up with ideas. You start to come up with ways to overcome these obstacles. And all it took was, like I said, to be still, to take that moment to be present, and to be okay in solitude with yourself. Like once again, we're going to have this in English with definitions. There's connotations of words and there's denotations of words. And what happens is a lot of different words also in English language not only have different meanings, but they have different feelings that it gives to us. And what I mean by that is when you hear the word, kill, or you can hear the R word, which rhymes with grape, we already have the connotation that that's a bad, those words are terrible. They have no other different meanings to it. But if you go back and look more into what they are, that's not originally what they were ended up being to be used for. As well as the word pride. When we say being prideful, people see that as that being a negative thing. And knowing that in the sense of depending, again, the attention and how it's set, that's not necessarily what it is. As well as when people say, like, oh, it's bad. Why you want to be a loner, being by yourself, things of that particular nature, we start to cherry pick, what sounds good and what's not. But when you start to really practice and look at the words and really see not only just the negative connotation, but the flip side of the things, you start to get, again, the full picture. We only have half of a phrase. So if I tell Kundan, hey, can you get? And then Kundan's gonna look at me like, can I get what? Like, can you go get that book that you spoke about so then we can have more conversation behind it?
Yep.
Then you have the full story behind it versus you just saying like, oh yeah, being alone, that's a bad word. Okay, why is it a bad word? Like, why is alone? Like, why is being alone or somewhere by yourself a bad word?
That's the connotation, right?
That's the connotation, yes.
So yeah, it's funny you said that because I posted a poem just about this very topic yesterday. I think you saw it on solitude and the difference between loneliness and aloneness. And yeah, it's called 3 Simple Ways to Properly Manage Your Time. So I highly recommend people go look it up afterwards. But yeah, I actually make the distinction that solitude doesn't have to be bad because there is a difference between loneliness and aloneness.
Exactly. And it just goes down to the words and the things that you use. And then I just thought about the word right now. I'm going to do another quick on the fly. Y'all can still roast me about it, whatever it is. But even the word connotation, when we think of the word, it has con in it. When we think of pros and cons, we already think the con is the negative aspect of something. But then you also think of con being a person that tricks or deceives. So when we use connotations, and then if you want to use that TION, I've done it a lot. It basically means either the state or the action of. So the action, connotation, the action of noting the negatives or noting the tricks, you start to see when we look at the connotation of words, you note the negatives or you note the tricks of it. then you'll be like, okay, now I start to see that meaning behind it. But again,
Mm.
once you get it, you flip these words certain ways, as well as another note to the reason why too that words are not, or why sometimes there aren't any universal definitions. Not only because there's a language barrier, but also there's a culture barrier when it comes to reading.
Mm-hmm.
There's in some places, and I'm only specifically off the top of my head right now. I know in Japan and a lot of like some Asian, countries, they don't read left to right like
Right,
we do.
vertical, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, some read vertical, as well as there's also a same thing with right to left.
Right, yeah.
So when you have certain shifts and changes in sentences and words and things, it can have a whole different meaning. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
another great example of that is within movies again. Star Wars. That's a Star Words, but Star Wars. You got Yoda, and the way that Yoda speaks with his euphemisms and his sayings,
And the
he
way he
doesn't
flips
necessarily.
it upside down, yeah, yeah.
And it's literally it can be the same thing, but you just repeat it and said it in a different way, and it has a different impact. Instead of saying, "Man, you're crazy," it's saying how crazy are
Crazy
you?
you are. The funny
Yeah.
thing is, a lot of Star Wars, like even the dresses and stuff like that, is appropriated from Asian indigenous cultures. Like some of the princess, clothing is have
Mm-hmm.
been appropriated from the Hmong on their Mongolian culture. So
Mm.
even the language, like the way
Yes.
Yoda speaks, actually the grammar is
Mm-hmm.
actually very similar to like my Burmese language or other Asian languages where we have I think we have the subject first, right?
Mm.
Or the
Yes.
verb first. Like
All right. Oh.
basically it's flipped. It's the opposite of English, basically, right?
Mm.
So in English we would say, for example, have you eaten rice, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how we would phrase it, right? But in Burmese, we would flip it. We would start with rice.
Mm-hmm.
We would say, rice, have you eaten? So that's very similar to what Yoda is
Mm.
doing in the way he speaks. He flips it. So almost like even when it came to the language, they
Yes.
basically just appropriated and colonized from us.
Again,
Yeah.
and with on top of this too, and
Hmm.
I'm gonna be wrapping up pretty soon. I'm gonna read another comment that's in here, and I did have one other thing, but as I'm reading, let's see if it comes back to my mind. I can remember. Um, I have a comment in here. It says, and just by looking and breaking down the language, it changes how we speak and think, and it brings more harmony into our life because the word is creation and we are choosing to upgrade. Yes, you can speak life with your words, or you can speak death with your words. There's a
Hmm.
reason why we have proverbs, neologisms, and adages, which all of these mean wise sayings. We have these particular sayings is because they have some merit within our culture, within just life and just as humans, because it has some type of aspect to it that has an influence. Now, the other piece that I wanted to add on top with this and to round it out, and if you have anything else, Kundan, you can put that, you can add it as well. Um, not only going from the connotation and the denotation of words, but we also have the iambic pentameter. If y'all don't know, basically the stresses and the emphasis that you put on particular sounds, syllables, letters, and words also have an influence. So
Hmm.
sometimes when you want to bring out a particular feeling to somebody, that either you're angry or emotion, whatever it is, you'll emphasize a particular word or sound so that it brings apart that emotion. And that's another reason why it would be hard to give universal definitions, because I can end up saying bark 5 different ways, and it can end
Hmm.
up not only meaning what the word is, but the emotion that it brings about with it is completely different. Because I can just say
Hmm.
bark, and like you can literally
Yeah.
be thinking certain where I could think bark, and like literally you think, okay, that's a little aggressive, but there's literally all those different variables that adds to why I know the English
It's funny
language
you say that.
is
After
a
this, I'll send you a really funny Peel and Keel video where
Mm.
these two characters
Oh.
they're dressed as women and the entire time they're just saying okay, but
Mm-hmm.
each okay means different things based on the intonation. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'll send it to you later. It's so
Okay.
funny.
No, I
Yeah,
mean
yeah,
I know Key and Peele. The one that made me laugh the most, I
yeah,
think, is in their first season, is when they
yeah.
were using the word, bit like the B word, and they would literally be
Oh yeah.
talking about their wives, but then they'll go off somewhere else in the way they'd be like, and I said big, and then like they're literally looking around, making sure
Oh
that their
yeah, I've
wives.
seen that. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
like the emphasis on words too, it
Hmm.
changes, the meaning and how it's, sent across to people, which, in turn again, words being a spell, and it's very hard to be like, okay, now that's what the definition of that word is.
And again, that's like has to do with the sub dialect among, I guess, black people in this case, right? But like even in our Burmese languages, like how you intone a certain sound,
Yes.
depending on how you intone it, it can have a completely different meaning. So, for
Yes.
example, the sound "oo," right? Depending on how you pronounce it, it can mean egg, it can mean uncle, it can have like 4 or 5 different definitions that are completely different. Right.
See y'all. Again,
Yeah.
I,
That's
I'm
why
gonna
correct
say this.
pronunciation in our languages is so important. Like,
Yep.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Exactly. And that's why I say, y'all, not only that words are being spells, but when you speak a word, you utter a frequency and a sound, and
Hmm.
sound is universal for sure. The word
Yeah.
sound is universal. Body language is nothing. Yes, that you can say is universal. There's certain body you can be able to tell and tune into what someone is particularly saying, even though it can change depending on cultures. But ultimately, with words and definitions and things of that nature, it all has an effect in some way, shape, or form. So y'all just have to be on the lookout. Now, Kundan, do
Hmm.
you have any closing words before I go ahead and wrap up? And if anybody else does, please throw them in the comments.
Yeah, I also just wanted to add that back to what I said, English is not as much of a phonetic language as other languages. So, which is
Clicked on
why,
phonics, such a lie.
yeah, 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 it's so like even if you say it in a different sound, the meaning doesn't change that much, except in cultural cases like that Keel and Peel video. And also, English is very much, I think,
So pipe, son.
a conceptual language, or is it a perceptual language?
Which one?
One of Because I remember there's a translation of the Tao Te Ching that's really this big, and he was saying how in Chinese, I believe Chinese is a conceptual language, whereas English is a perceptual language. I think that's how it is. So they're basically opposites.
So conceptual in a way that it brings apart when you see the language, it brings apart a concept versus perceptual. When we see words and meanings and stuff, it's what we perceive of it.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
Whereas in Chinese, which is why in Chinese there is a character for
Kanji.
every word.
Uh,
You cannot turn letters into alphabets the way we can because it's so conceptual. Each character, that's why you have to memorize thousands of characters
yes.
because it's so conceptual. Like each character is connected to directly to a specific concept or idea.
Yes. And
Yeah,
then on top of them to add on yours, and then we'll close
yeah,
out. That's the reason why when we said the hook, no, we said phonics is not. It's not a phonetical language because you can
mm,
have the word facade, but the way that it looks and it be spelled be facade.
right. Yeah,
So you have all of these particular words that
that's
have
also why
all
you
these
have BUT
rules.
but PUT put, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
it's where you would think
yeah.
it again, the way English and stuff all is taught again, y'all. It is a Frankenstein language. That's why I'm going to tell y'all now.
Hmm.
It's Frankenstein language, puts apart with so many different things. All
Hmm.
right, let's see. Got this other comment, and then I'm gonna wrap up, y'all. So let's see.
All
In
right.
human gestation, the first cells form the heart, and the second structure is the tongue, which grows right from the heart. Language is one key root to our existence. Yes, one key root. Yes, It definitely is. I mean, we can go on and on about this. This is just not a topic to like just only particularly be like it gonna be done this one time. Like there's so much more that could be explored with this, y'all. But I appreciate y'all giving a lot of input and insight. Now to wrap up with the show, ultimately, first, when it comes to current events, y'all, I implore you as well as it is imperative to know what's happening around you, what's going around in the world, because ultimately it does have an impact in some way, shape, or form. So be prepared. Make sure you keep yourself safe and those loved ones around you, and stay informed. Two,
Mm-hmm.
words being spells, are there real spells? Each word has a particular feeling. Each set of words have a particular feeling when combined and put together. So when you say you are what you say you are, Eminem, I am what I say I am. As a man thinketh, so is he. You think these things, you say these things, you put out that energy and that feeling, and you embody that consciously and unconsciously. So
Mm-hmm.
be careful of the words that you speak, as well as be mindful of how they come across with your intentions, whether good, bad, hurt, harm, whatever it is. Be mindful.
Mm-hmm.
And lastly, why, at least in my perspective, words don't have universal definitions. It's because of not only the borrowing of the English language being a Frankenstein language, borrowing from Latin, Greek, Germanic, all these other ones, the changes of words throughout society, the connotations and denotations of words, and the emphasis in the way that you speak and put them out make it so hard to just say this word only means this. We have so many definitions for love. We've talked about that before, and they're so hard to pinpoint that ultimately be mindful again of the words and the definitions you look up and see, and make sure that you start off having a concrete foundation of what you're speaking on, because if not, you will get lost in the specifics, as well as you'll lose a lot of the generals of what you mean behind the definitions. But
Mm-hmm.
other than that, y'all, I'm glad to see more people coming in. This is the end of the show, y'all. I've been your
Yep.
brother A.D.V.I.S. This has been Kundan. Please follow both, either here, Instagram, on YouTube. Kundan, please send me your YouTube so I can also plug that.
Mm-hmm.
And ultimately, y'all, at the end of the day, we will see y'all. It's been another episode. What's the word? Wednesday, season 2, episode 20. We did 40 episodes, y'all. So congrats to that. Once again, Instagram, YouTube, subscribe, follow, like, comment, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so you get more videos from your brother here, and more to come. Other than that, y'all, peace and one love. Until next episode,
Peace and
we're
love.
out.